Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
What a joy to be able to spend Shabbat together and to bring in Shabbat as a community. We are not just joined by those within our Beth Israel family, but we are also joined by those who are joining us virtually. Shabbat Shalom, we see you. We're so glad that you're joining us. We're also joined by the Walensky family here in honor and celebration of Addie's bat mitzvah tomorrow, which is going to be great because she's going to keep breathing and it's going to be great. And we are also especially blessed this Shabbat to be joined by Deacon Jim Vargas from St. Vincent de Paul, and we are so looking forward to your words and celebrating the partnership that we have had over these many, many years. I want us to take a moment and reflect. There is a custom in some communities that before we begin Shabbat, that we reflect on the last week that was. And a helpful tool for that can be the days of creation. So think back on your week. What was a moment where you were able to separate light and dark? What was a moment where you noticed the skies and you noticed the waters? What was a moment where you noticed the vegetation sprouting up from the ground? Reflect on a moment where you noticed the sun, the moon, or the stars, perhaps in a way that you hadn't any other week. It was a moment where you noticed the creatures of the sea and the birds in the air. What was a moment that made you notice how every person is created in God's image? What was a moment in your week when you could pause and just look around and say, "This is very good"? We bring in Shabbat with light. So I'd like to invite Addie and her family up to light our Shabbat candles. The blessing can be found on page 2.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Our two Shabbat candles give us pause. They remind us to shamor, to guard, to physically guard, v'zachor, to keep Shabbat. And the two bring us a sense of physical and spiritual. The elements that bring the light, the radiance into our hearts, into our souls, into our homes, and they also illuminate the responsibility, both within the physicality of keeping it and also the act of bringing ourselves spiritually into it. And in our prayers and the wisdom of the rabbis, they realized that we needed time, we needed warm-up. I was just talking with the Walensky family, the most on-time early family in the history of Jewish families I've ever seen, ever, in any life cycle I've been had shared with them. And that in Jewish time also meant maybe that's the time we should be there. You should be here at 6. Okay, that's a good, in theory, we should be there at 6. And the rabbis thought really hard about this idea about being here and being present and said we need time to gather ourselves. And Kabbalat Shabbat, as we enter into this evening, is that entry point. The face of Shabbat as we receive it is that point in which we find blessing, in which we find the radiance, in which we find L'chadodi likra kala, come my beloved, as we greet Shabbat. This is the time we bring in the Spirit so that when we're called to prayer in the Baruch Hu, we ready ourselves for that moment. We join together on page 13 in our prayer books as we invite Shabbat together. Lechuna ranena, let us join.
Sur yishenu nekad mafana betoda Naria letsur yishenu Izmirot naria lo Lefuneranena Ladonai Lefuneranena Ladonai Lekuneranena Ladonai Lekuneranena Ladonai Naria letsur yishenu Kadma fana betodam Naria letsur yishenu Izmiro naria lo Lefuneranena Ladonai Lefuneranena Ladonai.
As we turn to page 20, the Chadodi Likrat Kala, come my beloved, as we greet the Sabbath bride.
Yalla la 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 lecha dodi Yalla la 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 likrat kala Yalla la 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 b'nei Shabbat nekad לקראת כלה. יללללי בני שבת, בני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, כי השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ותפארת ולתהילה. יללללי לך דודי, יללללי לקראת כלה. יללללי בני שבת, בני שבת נקבל. יללללי לך דודי, יללללי לקראת כלה. יללללי בני שבת, בני שבת נקבלה. כי תעוררי, כי תעוררי, כי באורך ומאורי, אורי אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. יללללי לך דודי, יללללי לקראת כלה. יללללי בני שבת, בני שבת נקבל. יללללי לך דודי, יללללי לקראת כלה. יללללי בני שבת, בני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום, עטרת בלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמונה עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. יללללי לך דודי, יללללי לקראת כלה. יללללי בני שבת, בני שבת נקבל. יללללי לך דודי, יללללי לקראת כלה. יללללי בני שבת, בני שבת נקבלה. We welcome the ministering angels of Shabbat, page 24. You may be seated. Shalom Aleichem, Malchei Hasharetz, Malchei Elioni, Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh,
Baruch Hu, Shalom Aleichem, Malchei Hasharet, Malachei Elyonim Melech, Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh. Baruch Hu, Bo'achem L'Shalom, Malchei Hashalom, Malachei Elyonim Melech, Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh. Baruch Hu, Shalom, Shalom Aleichem, Malchei Hasharet, Malachei Elyonim Melech, Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh. Baruch Hu, Baruchuni L'Shalom, Malchei Hashalom, Malachei Elyonim Melech, Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh. Baruch Hu, Shalom, Shalom Aleichem, Malchei Hasharet, Malachei Elyonim Melech, Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh. Baruch Hu, Tzidchem L'Shalom, Malchei Hashalom, Malachei Elyonim Melech, Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh. Baruch Hu, Shalom, Shalom Aleichem, Malchei Hasharet, Malachei Elyonim Melech, Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh. Baruch Hu, Shalom Aleichem, Malchei Hasharet, Malachei Elyonim Melech, Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh. Baruch Hu. Having welcomed the ministering angels of Shabbat, I invite you to turn to those around you, greet each other with words of Shabbat Shalom, and introduce yourself. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. We rise together and turn to page 146 for the Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. We turn to page 147 as we join together in the English. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night, and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continuously
over us into eternity.
Blessed are you, Adonai,
who brings on evening.
Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'ma'ariv Aravim, Page 148, we read responsively. In each age we receive and transmit Torah. At each moment we are addressed by the world.
In each age we are challenged by our ancient teaching. At each moment we stand face to face with Torah.
In each age we add our wisdom to that which has gone before. At each moment the knowing heart is filled with wonder.
In each age the children of Torah seek to set the world firm on a foundation of truth.
Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Please be seated. We invite up tomorrow's Bat Mitzvah, Addie Walensky, to lead us in chanting Ve'ahavta, page 150.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברתם בם בשבתך וביתך ובלבבך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם להיות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים אלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם אלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
I'm thinking of the Torah portions that we are reading this week, and we're reading about the narratives of Jacob, our patriarch, as he begins wrestling. And the wrestling is one of the pinnacle moments of transformation from what is the meandering to the Israel, one who's connected and still wrestles with God. I'm thinking about the narrowness of the moment. Right? Jacob is struggling with deception, with trying to bait his brother, with all the pieces that in some way inhibit us as individuals. They're symbols of us. Everything in Torah becomes a symbol of us. And Jacob wrestles. And the Milchamocha is that example of the wrestling in order for us to get to the expanse. Right? The Mitzrayim, which means Egypt in Hebrew, also translates as narrow straits. And so when we think of the narrowness of the world, we think of the challenges that we're in, we think of the myopic news feeds that we feed ourselves each and every day, that is the narrowness. The expansiveness comes with our potential. It comes with the possibility. It comes with us owning our authentic truth, enabling us to find the goodness that we find in humanity and expanding our minds as such. Mi Chamocha, as we'll sing in a moment on page 152, allows us in every way, shape, and form to come to a sense of redemption, to come to wholeness and newness, potential and possibility. We join together.
Kamocha nedar b'kodesh, mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Torah tehilot, osei melech, Torah tehilot, osei melech Adonai. לפני משה ומרים, זה אלינו ואמרו, זה אלינו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. יא לה לה, יא לה 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 לה, יא לה 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 לה, יא לה 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 לה.
ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ותקננו ביצה טובה מלפניך,
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. פרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, פרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך. Shelter us beneath your wings,
Page 154, Vishamu B'nai Israel et HaShabbat. The people of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing it as a covenant through all time.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
We enter into the central sections of our prayers, the Amidah, or standing prayer, to note that it's a moment of great importance. The time where we focus on Hodaot, words of thanks, and Bakashot, words of request. So I invite you, if you're able, to rise in your place at home or here in our sanctuary as we continue on page 155. We'll begin together. We'll enter into our own silent prayers. I invite you to be seated when you complete those, and we will join together.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Amcha Yisrael Bechoretu Bevot Sha'am Yishlomecha Shalom Rav Al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Shalom Rav Al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Tasim Leolam
We turn for a moment to those who are in need of healing. We say refuat hanefesh or refuat haguf, the recovery of mind, of body, of spirit. So many in our world, so many in our own community right here. Those who are in need of those physical moments of lift, the spiritual, the emotional, the financial, those ways in which we turn our thoughts and our love to those. And I'll share names that our community is recalling at this time, and then I'll invite you to add the name or names of loved ones that you're also thinking of so we can envelop them in our hearts as well. Community is thinking of Mark Edelman, Yeshua Michael Ben Yafa, Leslie Cohen and Rob Cohen, Samantha Farish, Denise Garrick, Evie Golden, Nancy Gordon, Steve Gould, Ellen Hutt, Ruthie Jordan, Ava Kerno, Jim Mills, David Murillo III, Lisa Nelson, Sharon Ritter, Karen Romer, Galina Rybalchenko, Sue Ruskin-Mayer, Rhonda Schwartz, Cindy Spector, Patricia Spira, Maxine Trimble and Gerald Trimble, David Tossman, Fred Valfer, Kathy Weil and John Weil, and George Wise. As my eyes meet yours, I invite you to share the names of loved ones that you're thinking of at this time. We join together in a prayer of healing, a prayer of Mishaberach.
Mishaberach Avoteinu Mekor HaBracha May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Le'ah
bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Once a month, we get to acknowledge and offer a blessing to all those who will complete another circle around the sun. So if you have a birthday in the month of November, we invite you to come up and we'll ask you to share your name, when your birthday is, if you'd like, how old you are becoming. And for all of those things, you will get a Yom Huledet Sameach birthday pen. Now, I know it's not a Hallmark card, but this is neon. And that goes for something.
I heard they raised in value because we took a year off, so now they're back in fashion, so it's good stuff.
The Indy 500 has nothing on us. All right. It's so nice to meet you. What's your name?
I could take a trip around my son.
See, I get it. I get it from both sides.
Joanne.
Oh, good to meet you.
Thank you. My birthday's tomorrow,
Woohoo!
and I will be 67.
Whoa. Yes,
Fantastic.
God bless. God bless.
A child. Like a youngster. Oh, gee, thank you.
You get a pen.
Hi, I'm Kate. This is a birthday sandwich because my birthday was yesterday, and I had my Chai birthday, so I'm 18 now.
Fantastic. Mazel tov. What's your name, young man?
Alan Habenstock. I am 96 years young.
Atta boy. Mazel tov.
Hi, I'm Marcia, and I'm Addie's grandma.
Fantastic.
And it's not nice to ask
I
someone
know.
how old they are.
When is your birthday?
November 8th.
Fantastic. I hope you have a wonderful anniversary of your 18th birthday.
Thank you very much.
I'm Addie. My birthday is the 17th, and I'm turning 14.
All right. I hear that you're having a big party tomorrow. That'd be great.
I'm Steve. My birthday is November 20th, and I will be 56.
Mazel tov.
Yetta. My birthday was November 3rd, and I was 80.
Mazel tov. Fair enough.
I'm Ernie Abbott, and my birthday was November 1st, 92.
Mazel tov. Have a pen, Ernie. And before we offer singing happy birthday to you and Yom Huledet Sameach, we offer this blessing. Let the music of your life guide you and the rising sun warm you, bringing hope and laughter to your moments and breaths. Let the power of your stance guard you as the horizon blackens and the storm approaches, holding you firm and ready against the rising winds. Let the wisdom of your heart ground you when fear and doubt assail your footsteps, so that you listen to the voice of love and truth. Let the rhythm of your life grace you, so that the spinning earth will carry you on a journey of joyous adventure. And to all this we say Amen.
Amen.
And Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach. Mazel Tov.
In our tradition, we say Ad Mea V'Esrim, to 120 it should be Moses' age. I think we're well on our way. We're looking good. We are looking good. Shabbat Shalom to everyone who's here in our virtual community, who's joining us in person. True blessing to be with all of you. A few days after my daughter, Sophie, was born, it was a time when one of the swine flus were going around, and so her older brother, Ethan, who is about 3 years and 8 months older than her, wasn't able to visit her in the hospital. And we had an opportunity at the end when they were meeting to come see. He was very anxious to see his new sister, and he was excited, and he had all the feels. And he sees her in the little in the stroller, and he's looking at her in amazement and wonder. And then he says, "Can we throw her out?" And they're watching right now, so I know that's accurate, so I'm pretty sure. And then he says, a couple of days later, "Is it too late to return her?" Now, that is a common experience that we see. And in truth, there's hardly a joke about it now, but I know in their ways, in these moments of preteen and teen, that they do love each other very much in these moments. And in truth, there's hardly a family that doesn't have some version of a story when the older sibling feels dethroned by the younger one. The term, actually, sibling rivalry, was coined by psychiatrist David Levy in the 1930s after his conclusive study across many cultures regarding the competition between siblings. But we all know the narrative of competition and rivalry goes back much further. It goes back to our Torah. Genesis introduces us, as I mentioned earlier, to the first brothers. We know first we learn about Cain and Abel, and many of us know how that goes. Then we encounter Isaac and Ishmael, when Ishmael is cast out along with his mother Hagar. And this week we are introduced to brothers Jacob and Esau, brothers we first met as they were fighting in the womb, and as the narrative informs us. Rebekah, their mother, is told that one is destined to rule over the other, and the younger Jacob would ultimately rule over his brother Esau. With this newfound knowledge, Rebekah subsequently contributes to the unconcealed favoritism of Jacob over Esau. And the family adds their indelible mark on yet another dysfunctional family narrative that we encounter in the book of Genesis. But sibling rivalry, as Levy notes in his study, invites intense competition and comparison between and among them. Levy also notes that the relationships between siblings can be a reflection on us, inviting moments when we can often be much more critical of them than we are others even. So upon reading the text again, I was reminded of many painful rivalries within our greater Jewish community. Those that feel their brand of Jewish living is superior to others. In Israel, we see examples of this modern-day sibling rivalry. We just saw it this morning as Rosh Chodesh began, and the ultra-Orthodox violently came and attacked those women who were of the egalitarian minyan who were praying at the wall. We see a chief rabbinate that's vying for supremacy while both denouncing and dismissing any other form of Judaism, driven in part, like other sibling rivalries, by competition for resources, by access to holy places, and a desire to define who is truly a Jew. Sadly, that narrative is alive and all too familiar today. Now, the Torah does give us a happy ending in the story of Jacob and Esau. A little spoiler here for a few weeks from now, that the brothers eventually embrace and live in neutral peace. So I could easily point to more internal Jewish rivalries and struggles, yet something else has taken up much of my reflective space this week. I've been thinking about my local community siblings, those that I and we share work and living spaces with. We shop at the same grocery stores. We stop at the same traffic lights. We traverse the same roads and freeways. Yet, I have and continue to find it fascinating how our experiences, even while intersecting, can be so diverse and so varied. There are those we share community with that have been fortunate to live with health and wellness, while others struggle with prolonged illness. Some have even been blessed with material fortune, while others struggle to provide for basic family needs. The differences can be striking and, for some, surprising and at times unexpected. So how can we extrapolate some life lesson from our narrative this week as we widen the tent and look to the relationships with our community's brothers and sisters? So here's my take. Our Torah is asking us to lean into our life intersections as a source of inspiration and action. The moments where, unlike the early part of Jacob and Esau's relationship, we don't tear each other down or hold each other back. Rather, we work to bring dignity and support to the other. Enter Beth Israel and enter Father Joe's, sibling faith community organizations, different in design and approach, yet both born of divine inspiration and action. Both are part of the same human family, working to find a shared language by bringing the light of our respective faiths into humanity. In the 1980s, Father Joe Carroll, may his memory be a blessing, knew that a sudden and severe economic downturn gripping San Diego at the time would quickly grow the number of the homeless population from a few to many. At the same time, our congregation, which was then located at 3rd and Laurel near Balboa Park, felt the need to respond as well. Our Social Action Corps recognized that the synagogue needed to find a way to provide support and decided to volunteer at existing programs to assess how they operated. It was crystal clear that the best of these programs was run by Father Joe Carroll on behalf of St. Vincent de Paul Society. Beth Israel leaders were actively working with Father Joe on the homeless problem and arranged a meeting between Father Joe and rabbinic and board leaders at the time, among them Hunger Project founder Joan Kuttner. At this time, it was decided that Beth Israel would assist Father Joe by providing a morning meal on Sundays. From the first location, an old storefront on 16th Street in the East Village, with a first meal served on Sunday in March of 1986, and clients numbering 249 men and 1 woman, to a weekly client base of over 1,000 hungry individuals on a typical Sunday morning. Through Father Joe's vision and support, the Hunger Project volunteers continue and works to heal the world one hungry person at a time. Tonight, we honor the incredible work that has and continues to be done. To my friend, my brother, Deacon Jim Vargas, President and CEO of Father Joe's, who joins us this evening, he will share a few words of encouragement as Beth Israel is recognized for her sacred work at Father Joe's. 35 years ago, our congregation saw our brothers and sisters in need of support. No rivalry, no competition, only love for the other, and a shared desire to prevent and to end homelessness, one life at a time. We are joined this evening not only by Deacon Vargas, but we are joined by some of the amazing staff and volunteers from our community who have given their all, have given their heart, some for 20 plus years, every Sunday, to make the work sacred. Roger Ashertow, Marty Stern, and Bill Connors, who join us here this evening. You are with us always in spirit and heart, and give of your souls to those in need. Later in our text, we learn the following. Years later, Jacob himself went on ahead and bowed to the ground 7 times as he approached his brother. Esau, however, ran to him and embraced him, threw his arms around his neck, and kissed him, and they both wept. Hine ma tovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. How wonderful it is as brothers and sisters dwell together, as we say together, Amen. I call upon my friend, my brother, Deacon Jim Vargas.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
It is such a pleasure to be with you this night. I've been looking forward to it, especially to be here with my friend, the rabbi, who I've gotten to know since he arrived about a year ago.
Year and a half? Oh, yeah. But who's counting Anna?
It's really been my pleasure. Allow me to begin, actually, by reading. Okay, can you hear me? I hope you can hear me. All right. Is it good? All right, thank you for the high sign. Allow me to begin from the book of Micah. He has shown you, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you, but to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with God. All right, thank you. Thank you. I really reflected on that short verse from the book of Micah because it points to why I'm especially here with you tonight, right? We're called to be the face of mercy. We're called to be the face of God. And if God is anything, God is merciful. And we see that mercy time and time again. When we see that his people called out to him from Egypt, and he sent Moses to deliver them. When we see that Abraham and Sarah cried out to him because they were childless, and from their progeny came more than the stars could be counted in the heavens and the sand on the seashore. We see when in the New Testament, those who are blind are given sight, those who are lame are able to walk, those who are possessed by demons are freed from their maladies. Time and time again, we see how God is mercy. And it's to that mercy, to that call of mercy, that this congregation Beth Israel, especially through its hunger project, responds time and time again. And as the rabbi mentioned, dating back to 1986, 35 years and an unbroken chain each and every single Sunday. What amazes me is when I visit on some Sundays with those from the Hunger Project, some who are here today, how they very proudly, and proud in a good way, say to me that they haven't missed a Sunday in years and years and years. I wonder how that's even possible, right? And yet they take a lot of pride in that, again, in a good way, because they love what they do. And our beloved Joan, who's not with us, but she was someone that was Joan's rule, right? And Joan's rule was that you were to greet the individuals who you encountered that morning warmly. You were to serve them joyfully, because this kindness was probably the only kindness they had seen in a long time. And so I thank you for joining in this, this evening with me. And please pass along to all the others also my deep appreciation. This relationship, this partnership that we, Father Joe's Villages, have had with your congregation and with the Hunger Project for these 35 years is very, very dear to me. I really cherish it. And I've been there, Father Joe's Villages, 7 years. And 5 years ago, Leslie will remember, you were nice enough to invite me here because it was the 30-year mark, all right? And I wanted to celebrate that 30-year mark with you as well. And here we are, before you know it, I can't believe it's another 5 years, and it's 35 years. So it's really my honor to be with you this evening as the reason this is such a milestone, in fact, it's not only the 35 years, but not only the meals that you graciously serve, but each and every single month, there is also a stipend that you give us, right? And that has surpassed now $1 million. Unbelievable. I can't express my appreciation enough to you. And over 1.5 million meals just about served throughout these very, very many years. That is quite a milestone. There isn't, I think, any other organization that has a partnership of this nature that has lasted this long and has been so fruitful. So I do thank you, each and every single one, especially those of the Hunger Project, for being the face of mercy, for being the face of God, and especially for those who we serve, some of them who are stigmatized, many of them who are stigmatized, right? Many of them who are not shown kindness. And you, time and time again, every single Sunday, come and show them that kindness, right? Serve them warmly. So with that, I want to present to you, just to commemorate this milestone. So Rabbi, if you would join me.
I'm going to ask our wonderful staff and volunteers to come join us on the bima, if you're so inclined.
And I'll read this to you. It says, Father Joe's Villages, we are grateful to Congregation Beth Israel of San Diego for 35 years of loving generosity, reaching a milestone of $1 million in donations and 1.4 million meals served. Thank you so very much. Thank you so much. Shalom.
I hope you all get to know Deacon Jim. He's a wonderful human being. We both immigrated here from the Bronx. So we share that. We also share our Puerto Rican Latino backgrounds as well. So this is really, it was a shidduch made in I don't know where, but it was made. It was made. And maybe you'll get to see him after. I hear he might be appearing next week again. We have some celebrations going on next week here, so it'd be nice to join us again. So thank you to you, to Father Joe's, to all of those that make this possible. Just an incredible, incredible blessing that we get to participate in and be of service in. So thank you. And we have a song that goes along with this understanding.
Aniva ata, nishaneh et ha'olam. You and I will change the world. אני ואתה נשנה את העולם. אני ואתה אז יבואו כבר כולם. אמרו את זה קודם לפניי.
ואתה נשנה את העולם. אני ואתה ננסה מההתחלה. יהיה לנו רע, אין דבר ולא נורא. אמרו את זה קודם לפניי, זה לא משנה. אני ואתה נשנה את העולם, את העולם, את העולם.
I'd like to invite one of our board members, Heather Cohen, up to offer some announcements from the congregation.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
My name is Heather Cohen, and I'm a member of your board of directors. It's my pleasure to welcome you to our service this evening. Also joining me on the bima this evening is Jody Newlander. Mazel tov to our bat mitzvah tomorrow, Addie Walensky. Mazel tov to your parents, Beth and John, and to your sister Sydney. Next week, as Rabbi Navarez mentioned, is his installation on November 12th. And this year, our interfaith Thanksgiving celebrations with First United Methodist are at a new date and time, Sunday, November 14th at 4 o'clock p.m. I'd like to remind you that you can find everything else you need to know about Beth Israel and upcoming events at our website, cbisd.org. Don't forget to validate your parking before you leave tonight. I'd like to share with you this thought by Ruth Brim. God, help us now to make this new Shabbat. After noise, we seek quiet. After crowds of indifferent strangers, we seek to touch those we love. After concentration on work and responsibility, we seek freedom to meditate, to listen to our inward selves. We open our eyes to the hidden beauties and the infinite possibilities in the world you are creating. We break open the gates of the reservoirs of goodness and kindness in ourselves and in others. We reach toward one holy, perfect moment of Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. We rise as we begin to conclude our service with Aleinu L'Shabeach, page 282.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
Please be seated. Our thoughts turn to those whose memories remain with us, although they have passed on. We are in the week of Shiva, the first 7 days following burial for Margarita Brill and Harold Greenfield. And as you hear the name of your loved one, I invite you to rise. We're in the period of Shloshim, the first 30 days following burial, for Marcia Ferrer, Barbara Lauer, and Evelyn Maisels. We also acknowledge the anniversary of passing the Yahrzeit. Fanny Adelson, Isidore Amdur, Lee Bartell, Laura Berger, Nat Bransky, Samuel Brown, Rose Brussel Sachs, Alex Charnow, Helen Cohn, Louis Deckelboim, Sam Deutsch, Erwin B. Dickstein, Mark Robert Dime, Milton Efron, Stuart William Evans, Renee Adiar Felberg, Faye Fine, Sadie Finkelstein, Harry R. Friedman, Donald Frischer, Rachel Kane Garfield, Sanford Gibberman, Max Glazer, Leon Golding, Philip Goldman, Diana Goldstein, Helen Goodman, David Gross, Charlotte Haas, Merrill Hakim, Nathan Harrison, Peter Harvey, Mildred Ide, Esther Hinnich, Marilyn Johns, Susan Lee Karsh, Joshua Carty, Ray Katz, Vincent Kenny Sr., May Dean Klein, Nettie Kleinberg, Melvin Kodmer, Lester L. Korn, Ida Kurowski, Milton J. Lerner, Bernard Levin, Madeline Maddie Levitt, Thelma Ludwig, Milton J. Loeb, Chaim Lyons, Henry Magnin, Inez Marcus, Isabel Markinson, Samuel Marsh, Ilse Mayer, Seymour Miller, Abraham Mink, Rose Mink, Libby Modlin, Benjamin W. Nathan, Eli Nelson, Fritz Pincus, Janice Rabin, Hannah Radin, Bertram Reese, Harvey Rosenblatt, Marcia Pellman Rubin, Meyer Rubin, Daniel Rudolph, Elizabeth Gerstil Russakoff, Ronald Scarafoni, Frederick Schreiber, Sylvia Schwartz, Randy Rosenberg Selick, Sophie Silberman, Sarah Ann Silverman, Sandra Singer, Ann Snoyman, Arthur Sorosky, Benjamin O. Spector, Hannah Sternfield, Harold Stolmaker, Elsie Stritch, Gary Wax, Zlata Weinstein, Thelma Weitz, Pat West, and Lena Zimmerman. Perhaps you've come to say Kaddish for someone whose name was not mentioned. I invite you to rise and share that name with our community as our eyes meet. Thank you. We rise together as a caring community on page 294 as we recite the ancient and hallowed words of Kaddish Yatom. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, be'alma divrach irutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'zman kariv imru, Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lamei amaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei d'kudsha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru, Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. Osei shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol v'imru, Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say, Amen. Amen. I invite you to place your prayer books down, and before we conclude with Osei Shalom, I want to invite everyone to stay for just a moment as we break bread together and recite Motzi. I also want to thank Andy and Buddy and Kate for joining us and making really a beautiful service and your music elevating each of our souls. So thank you.
And our wonderful younger voices
Yes,
today.
to Zachary and Ari and Maya, thank you very much for adding your beautiful souls. Page 294, we join together.
Oh, say shalom, shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Oh, say shalom, shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen. Oh, say shalom, shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Ve'al kol Yisrael,
As we say Shabbat Shalom to one another, we turn to one another, say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
And we join together in Motzi. We say, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.